Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today on this webinar. We're going to be going through last-minute tips to boost your year-end fundraising as we approach the final month of the year. My name is Jen Newcomb Trinidad, and I'm with the marketing team here at CanadaHelps, and I'm happy to be joined by my colleagues today who will be presenting this webinar. They are Pilar Albisu, who is our Charity Success Manager, and Tamara Rahmani, who is our Western Canada lead on the West Coast. They'll be able to go through today's webinar and answer all the questions that you have for your year-end campaigns. So today we're going to cover how to take on your year-end rush by optimizing your website in order to drive traffic, free support to donate. We're going to take a look at building custom donation forms that maximize the number of online donors that you receive and track your year-end return on investment by reporting on campaign-specific forms, as well as how to create those follow-up emails within CanadaHelps to help retain your donors into the new year. All right, so that's what we're going to be going through today. But before we get started, we would like to express and acknowledge that our team here at CanadaHelps is grateful to have the opportunity to meet and work on many Indigenous lands across this land we share, known as Canada. As settlers on these lands, it is important to acknowledge that our Vancouver offices are located on the unceded territory of the Coast Salish people. The Montreal offices are located on Kanien'kehá:ka or Mohawk territory, and the land on which we operate in Toronto is the traditional territory of the Wendat, the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. We want to express our respect for the territories we reside in and honor the diverse Indigenous peoples who have lived and worked on this land historically and presently. We, the staff and leadership at CanadaHelps, are committed to being active participants in reconciliation. We are committed to continuing to amplify Indigenous voices and learning how our work affects Indigenous peoples. And to those who are new to CanadaHelps, we want to welcome you. We build online fundraising tools to empower and help charities become more self-sustainable. And for charities, we offer open access to our full suite of affordable online giving tools with full donor information. And we also provide educational resources like this webinar so charities can better understand their donors and steward them along their journey. And for your donors, we have offered a convenient, safe, and trusted destination for donating to as well as fundraising for all registered Canadian charities for over 20 years now. And more than 2.5 million Canadians have donated over $1.5 billion through CanadaHelps. And to date, over 23,000 charities rely on CanadaHelps fundraising tools in order to build capacity. Okay, so without further ado, we have a little poll here, and I'm going to hand it off to Pilar to get us started. All yours, Pilar.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jen, for that awesome introduction. And thank you to everybody who has joined us today. We're super excited to be here with you to talk some sort of year-end fundraising tips as we head into this crucial time of the year. So we have a little poll for you today, just to kind of get a sense of how you're feeling as you're heading into the year and into this last month of the year, which it's crazy to see that we're already here. So how are you feeling? Are you feeling prepared? Sort of yes, definitely. Somewhat, maybe that's partly the reason why you're joining this webinar, just to get a couple of last minute tips. And is it already the last month of the year? Are you finding yourself doing a couple of things last minute? So just let us know where you are with that.
Let's see the votes coming in, Pilar. We're just going to give it a few more seconds.
Perfect.
All right, we'll close it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Just share it with everyone here on the screen.
Okay, so it looks like most of us here. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Tamara, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say hi. Yes, I am co-presenting with Pilar. Yeah, so it looks like 61% of us are at the somewhat. So they could use some last minute tips, but yeah, they've pretty much got everything going, but need some last minute tips would help. And we have, so that was 61% and 26% no, doing things last minute. So we got a good array here. So yeah, this is great timing then. Yeah, we're looking forward to share our presentation. Great.
Wonderful. So as we head into the presentation, Tamara and I are actually going to stop sharing our webcams just so we can sort of focus on the material that we have for you today, but we'll hop back on the webcams at the Q&A portion. So we'll see you shortly. So now we're just going to take a quick look at our agenda for today. Jen gave us a bit of a recap, but for today, we're just going to start by looking at some website must-have elements. They're going to help you drive that traffic to your site for that year-end giving, which is so important. So Tamara's going to go through a couple of key elements with you. Then we'll focus specifically on donation forms and how you can use donation forms to maximize that online giving. So we'll look at some awesome examples, and we'll also take a peek at how to put those together in our CanadaHelps account. We're also going to talk about how using our donation forms and the different aspects of CanadaHelps, we can track our sort of the return on investment that we have for our year-end campaigns. We'll have a quick look as well at some of the communication tools within CanadaHelps that you can use to thank your donors after the giving season, and then we'll have our Q&A portion. Great. So I'm just going to hand it off to Tamara to get us started.
Great, thank you, Pilar. So yes, we'll take you through website must-haves. So really the first thing to consider when gearing up to your year end is your website. It really makes a difference, especially now more than ever, as you know, your offices might be closed. This is really the front face of your organization, where you're communicating your branding, your mission, really where your community is learning more about you and is discovering what you do. So the first thing to think about for your website, here we have Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Victoria and area, is your donate button. So very crucial to have a very clearly distinct donate button right on your main menu page, and where it has maybe a contrasting color. It really pops out, and it's not crowded with a lot of information. So you really don't want people hunting for that button. Make it very easy for them to give and an enjoyable experience. And on top of that, if you are able to do it, have the donate button move as you navigate. So that is a feature that is really effective, especially when you have your donors or your website visitors exploring your website and learning more about your website. You really want them, when they feel compelled to give, to easily click that donate button. And so more on the donate button. So we're looking at a general donation form, of course. You really want that to be embedded right on your website. So here you can see they have one of our donation forms embedded right on your website. It's easier than it sounds or it looks. It looks maybe a bit daunting, but you don't have to have any like computer science skills. Pilar will show you how easy it is to set up just a page just like this. So on top of having it embedded right on your website, which allows your donors to stay on your website, so they're not sent to a strange URL perhaps, or they are, don't have to click so many times that maybe that can dissuade them from giving. We find that every time someone has to click to give, they're less likely to give. So keep those in mind when you're looking at your website setup. As it is embedded, our forms are mobile friendly, so be rest assured that as a lot of the traffic to your websites are through mobile devices, which is we find over 50%, this will appear just as nice as it is here. I'll show you as it is on a mobile device. So that's something to keep in mind. I'll just take it. So here's. And then lastly, in terms of your general donation form setup, as you can see, I had to scroll a little bit to get to the form on the mobile, to see it on the mobile. Make sure that the donation form is above the crease or the fold. So essentially just nowhere lower than the first when you're first taken to the page, so people don't have to keep scrolling, and there's no competing asks. There isn't other ways to give here. It's really just that clear give online. And if they want to give elsewhere, they can go to your ways to give page or your get involved page, which a lot of you I'm sure have. And there's a lot of ways to make that easy. So the ways to give is the component I would recommend to think of secondary. So that there is, so here we have another donate button that takes you there. So again, another type of form, just above the fold, embedded, no competing asks, very easy to do. And then the secondary, so think of the Ways to Give page. So here we have Kids Eat Smart Foundation. Ways to Give has its own separate page, really clearly set out the different ways of supporting your organization, whether that be volunteering, whether that being becoming a monthly donor, giving, donating in tribute or, in honor and memory of someone, maybe giving securities or mutual funds, partnering with you, etc. So with the Canada Helps donation forms that you have access to, if you are registered with us, you can create as many donation forms as you'd like. They're really easy to create, as I mentioned, and there's no cost to creating a new one, and they take, within minutes to complete. So really easy to dedicate each type of giving with its own donation form that's customized to it. So the principles are similar here for your different types of ways to give. So for example, the monthly giving form, you can have, a landing page that explains the benefits of being a recurring donor, for example, and then a clear button that takes them to that online donation form. Again, embedded right on your website, possible, above the crease, no competing asks. And then here we go. So just a messaging to explain the benefits of being a recurring donor. Down here, you can see it's just a monthly donation form, and then there's impact statements that reflect that monthly gift. So really important to create that custom feel for your donors, and they'll really appreciate it, and you'll see the difference. So that's the key takeaways for your website, especially entering year-end when 30% of our revenue or charities revenues come at this time of year. You really want to make it as easy as possible to support your organization. And now I'll pass it on to Pilar, and she will be taking you through the back end of your account.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Tamara, for those key elements that every charity website should definitely keep in mind when you're setting up that option to give this year end. Before I actually take you to the back end of your Canada Helps account, I did just want to highlight a couple of really nice examples that we found sort of for these holiday appeals. So the very first one is actually the same website we were just on, which is the Kids Eat Smart Foundation in Newfoundland, and they're running a holiday campaign where they're encouraging donors to give breakfast to a child this holiday season. So again, nice and clear, they have their main donate button in the top right hand corner, but for this specific campaign, as soon as I land on their homepage, within 3 seconds, above that fold of the page, I do see that nice big call to action to give to this specific campaign. And when I click on that donate button for this campaign, I am brought to a new page that is designated specifically for this campaign. So they're not bringing me to their general donation form where I have to figure out if my donation will go to that appeal. No, I've been brought to a form that is very similar in sort of the branding and very clear that this is ultimately going towards that Christmas or that holiday appeal. So taking a quick look at some of the basic elements of our custom donation form. This example here is what we call our full form. It is sort of the length of a page, nice and easy, scroll through for your donors, so sort of fewest clicks as needed. And a couple of things that you can note about this donation form right off the bat: beautifully branded to fit the same sort of branding and color scheme of the website and of the logo. They've chosen that option for one-time and monthly gifts, which you can pick and choose. And they are taking advantage of these suggested donation amounts, which you can ask up to 4 suggested donation amounts, or provide up to 4 suggested amounts for your donors, and combine them with what we call a statement of impact. So essentially, for every specific donation amount, you're letting your donor know really the impact that that specific amount or what that specific amount can help achieve. Definitely a wonderful feature to add to your donation forms. It's going to help those donors that might be on the fence about how much they're looking at, how much they want to give, and really helps drive that campaign. It very much makes it an impact-driven campaign. So along with those suggested donation amounts, a few other things that they've done very nicely here on this donation form. As I scroll down, I am able to, along with sort of all of my donor and payment information, they are as well encouraging, to give that gift in honor or in memory of, which is very popular around this time of year. With CanadaHelps, we do offer donors the possibility to send an e-card to someone of their choice, but you can also upload your own e-cards. So if there's a nice image that you think could make a great card, you can upload it onto your donation form and encourage your in honor or in memoriam donors to give that card. And lastly, they've taken advantage of our custom question to ask a specific question of their donors. So that's going to help them better direct that gift as well. So a couple more examples we wanted to show you as well. So with our next one, we wanted to create sort of this Giving Tuesday campaign for a sort of fictional sanctuary here, and a couple of elements that you're also able to add to your donation form. So if this is a sort of capital campaign, sort of perhaps very specific to this one day, you can toggle on a progress bar. So this progress bar keeps up in real time with any donations that have been made through this donation form, and you're able to add offline amounts as well. So if you receive cash or checks or e-transfers the day of, you can also pop them into the system to help bump that progress bar up. A huge motivating factor for a lot of donors, especially if you're messaging sort of around Giving Tuesday or year-end is more of an urgency message. So again, that's something you can toggle on or off. We've decided here to provide one-time and monthly donation options. Both of those have the suggested donation amounts with that statement of impact. And just below that, you can give your donors a list of funds, or you can think of them as sort of programs or areas of interest that they can direct their gift towards. Perhaps for your campaign, you really just want everything to be directed to a specific fund. Perhaps you call it your Giving Tuesday fund, or have your Christmas appeal fund. You can do that and not provide a list to your donors. It's up to you if you want to give them that option. As we head a little bit lower on the donation form, a few other things you can add is a phone number field. So if you did want to collect donor phone numbers and perhaps have that slightly more personal touch when you are thanking your donors once that campaign is over, or to sort of help steward them after the fact, you can collect that, and we'll show you where you can go to retrieve that information afterwards. And you can also toggle on an opt-in for your charity's email communications. So essentially with this toggle, if somebody checks off this field, they are giving you very explicit consent to be added to your mailing list. And that explicit consent essentially means that you can keep them indefinitely in your email list. If they do not check this off, or if you do not have this option on your donation form at all, you do still have a 2-year window as per CASL, Canadian anti-spam legislation. You can, within a 2-year window, communicate with your donors, but after the fact, after that 2-year window, you do have to remove them. But with this explicit consent, you can keep them indefinitely on that email list until they remove themselves or ask to be removed. So a great little piece there to add. And then lastly, just to mention as well, just below, I've taken advantage as well of that custom question. And a new little feature is that the answer can be not just text format, but we have a few different formats that answer can be in. I've chosen the yes or no question, but you can as well, like this great example here, have them do a select from multiple options. So this wonderful example here, would you like to receive more information about giving a legacy gift? And you can have a series of different options for your donor there. So a great new feature that we encourage all charities to take advantage of. So now that we've looked at those examples and keeping that in those different customizations in mind, we're just going to look at our CanadaHelps account. And when we are in our account, you'll have sort of your main tabs along the top. And in order to create your donation form, you'll just click on that Donation Forms tab. Just as a note, every registered charity starts off with 2 donation forms. So one is a general donation form, and the second one accepts gifts of stocks or mutual funds. Like Tamara just mentioned, if you want to create a ways to give page, great spot to pop securities donation form on. And in your list of donation form here, you can either start editing the ones that we've created for you, or you can create a brand new donation form from scratch. And it is honestly super, super easy to create a donation form. Quite literally, all the donation form needs is a name. This name is not public. It is not forward-facing. It's just a name that you give your donation form so that you can see it clearly in your list and in your reports after the fact. So you can provide your donation form a name, hit save, and then it is ready to be used. It is active, and it's up to you to then start sharing that donation form. So I'm just going to show you where a few of these different customizations live, and then we'll take a look at where you'd go to share. Actually, now that we're here, once you're ready to kind of start sharing that donation form, whether it be on your website or, as Tamara will tell us, a couple different channels you might share it, you have a couple of key buttons there. So there's the embed button and the URL button. So that embed code, either button will copy that to your clipboard, but you want to use the embed code if you'd like to paste it directly into a web page. So you could send that off to your webmaster, or if you make changes to your site yourself, you just want to pop that into the back of your website, the back end. And then there's the URL of the form. It is unique to your donation form, so feel free to share that, as Tamara will tell us, in different channels to bring people directly to that donation form. So always there for you to grab. But we'll just take a quick look at where we can go to make some of those awesome customizations that we took a look at. So the very first sections, again, is where you choose that form type. So we've seen that full page form, but you can also choose the smaller format that we saw with the Boys and Girls Club of Niagara. That's called our multi-step. You can do a tribute form where the in honor, in memory of is at the very top of the form, or you can choose that donation of securities form. So for those stocks and gifts of stocks and mutual funds. So that's where you can go to update that. And then under our general settings, a couple of the key features here, that list of funds, if you do want to provide that, or if you just want to make sure all donations go to a specific fund. If you choose just the one fund, there won't be a drop-down list. If you choose more than one fund, there will be that small drop-down list. Then we have our fundraising progress bar. Again, something you could toggle on or off. Give it a goal. And then if you'd like, you can as well come in here throughout the time of the campaign to keep updating that offline gift amount to help bump up that progress bar. Just below, select what type of gift you'd like this donation form to be able to accept, both or either or. And then just below as well, you're able to allow donors to designate their gift in honor or memory of someone. And something we see a lot throughout the holiday is the chance to, providing your donors the opportunity for you to send a physical card on their behalf. So if this is a service that you provide, perhaps you have some holiday cards you'd like to send out on their behalf. If you toggle this on, there will be a little drop-down option that says, please send a card on my behalf, where I as a donor can give you all of the details of my recipient, and then you can download that in a report and send that off to the donor's recipient of choice. So they'll get that physical card by postal mail. The other customizations tab, also super important. This is where you can come to ask that custom question. again, new feature. It can be more than just the text answer. It can be that multiple choice, that yes or no. So definitely something we encourage charities to play around with if there's a specific piece of information you'd like to receive from your donors. For now, it's just the one question, so keep that in mind. And then just below is where you can as well add that mailing list opt-in if you want that explicit consent, and collect those phone numbers by adding that phone number field as well. Just below that, we have our one-time and monthly donation amounts. Nice and simple. You just click into custom amounts and add that amount with the corresponding statement of impact. You can make it different for your one-time and monthly amounts, or you can make them the same. So it's completely up to you. Definitely encourage you to take some time. It doesn't always have to be something tangible. It can be something intangible, like provides a child with a new opportunity to learn. Just something to keep in mind when you're putting this together. It doesn't need to be something physical. So that's for our one-time and monthly amounts. The next field, also super important and a slightly newer feature, because you're able to add a thank you message for your donors. This means that for anybody giving through this specific donation form, they can add, you can add a thank you message that will appear as the first paragraph in the email the donor receives with their tax receipt attached. So we definitely encourage you to use this field to write a thank you that's going to be more personal and you know, perhaps give the donor more useful information. So now you are able to add what we call rich text editing, so you can bold, underline, you can hyperlink. So it's a great opportunity for you to, again, maybe direct them to your website, direct them to social, encourage them to sign up to your newsletter. You know, definitely this is where you can go to give them that extra piece of information and that final touch point that you have with them. And again, we encourage you not just to make the messaging different for your one-time and monthly donors, but you can also make that messaging different across your different donation forms. So if you have a holiday appeal, customize, you know, really tailor that thank you to reference that holiday appeal, and that's going to go that much farther in stewarding your donors. Brand form is where you can go to make all of those physical changes to your form, so the colors, the background image, the headers, the text, etc. If you have any trouble with this section, please reach out to us. Tamara makes some beautiful donation forms, and we're happy to give you a hand in creating something that suits your campaign. Brand e-cards, again, is where you can go to upload your own e-cards. So those images that you think will make a nice card to send electronically to donors. So this is where you can come to add those images that might be sort of relevant to your organization, especially around the holiday seasons. And lastly, we will come back to this, but your analytics tab is a super important tab as well. If you haven't had a chance to explore it, definitely recommend it. But it's if you have a Google Analytics account number or a Google Tag Manager account number, you'd want to pop that in here. We'll talk some more, but it's going to help you gauge a lot of really useful information about the performance of this donation form.
Amazing. Thank you, Pilar. Those are wonderful features to keep in mind year-end. Thank you for taking us through that. So now let's take a look at how you can really focus in on your year-end campaigns and how you can track them and make the most out of this giving season. So here's an example from Prince Edward Point Bird Observatory. I'll scroll down here, so as you can see, it's a Giving Tuesday campaign, and then they have their wonderful embedded donation form here for that campaign. I will be talking about the features that Pilar went through, and make sure to speak to them more in a campaign-specific format. So the features that Pilar went over, they really convey context, and they allow you to keep the continuity of your campaign all the way to the end, like to the thank you message of the donation form. So some features that you really want to include is a description of your campaign. So here you want to explain why they should care, why give to you and why now, and add an incentive if there is. So these guys have done a really good job of doing that. So they've outlined why should people care, so they can continue helping migration monitoring for 25 more years in their area. And then they've also given an incentive. So incentives can be like a match, of course, but they here have they give advanced notifications of upcoming events and newsletters. So whatever you can do is great. So Pilar showed us the thermometer option, so you can have a bar to show, to reflect your donations. Here they've chosen to add it's just a tally of their giving. So this is an option, of course, as well. Maybe you don't have a goal, a finite goal amount, maybe, and you just want to maintain transparency and keep momentum coming. This is a great way just to show the tally of your donations thus far. And so below that, here we have, so as Pilar spoke about, for your campaigns, you really want to get as specific as possible. So a great way to do that is the impact statements to your dollar amounts. To really explain, the donor can leave their, leave knowing that they've given and they can a tangible gift. So if you're able to make it as tangible as possible, like, supporting barred owls or something like that, please include that if you can. It's really easy to do. So yeah. On top of that, to keep in mind, make sure to customize thank you emails as Pilar went over. So if you're able to, make it as specific to the campaign as possible, each donation form can have its own specific thank you. So here, thank you for supporting the migration monitoring for 25 more years. Something along those lines will make a really big difference. And then lastly, for campaigns, keep in mind that you want to keep track of them. So I would recommend, if you do have a Google account, to add your Google Tag Manager ID to track impressions on your campaign. And that will help you understand more about your data and who's visiting, and we'll talk more in depth. Pilar will talk more in depth about that shortly. So when you are considering creating a campaign, of course, you want to know, this is of course an online campaign right now, but you want to think about what the giving channels are. So whether it be direct mail, email, social, online, or corporate, you can have all these methods take you to your page here. So for example, in a direct mail, you can have a direct mail. You can have a separate page, landing page on your website that is for your direct mail campaign, and have your donors who receive the mail, when they fill out the URL, they can go to that hidden page on your website that goes to the direct mail. Because that, as mentioned, you can see here, you can title your campaigns or specifically for your channel, and that will only be facing the back end, so only you can see. So you can have this donation form specifically facing the people who are donating, who receive mail, and then email, and social, and so on. Really want to express the importance of kind of creating those separate modes of giving, so you're able to know where your traffic is coming from, and then maybe down the line, if you want to sort of have donors change channels, which is of course a very difficult thing to do, you're able to see the patterns. And then in the direct mail, for example, you can always add a note. So let's say if they usually are, donors are giving check, but you'd like to keep everything online, you can add notes like, did you know you can donate securely online and instantly receive a tax receipt? Also, this solves, a lot of time for us and administrative costs, and collect their email, so you're able to add them to your mailing list. So some small tricks there. So now I'll take it to Pilar, so you can show us how to additional ways to track ROI.
Perfect. Thanks, Tamara. So those are all, like Tamara mentioned, a lot of great things to keep in mind if you're using your donation forms for a year-end campaign. So definitely asking yourself what those different channels are and having sort of designated donation forms for not just for that campaign, but potentially for those different channels. And that's where this tool that I mentioned briefly before, the Google Analytics or the Google Tag Manager, can really come in handy to help you get a better sense of the return on investment of that specific donation form. So for those of you who aren't too familiar, Google Analytics and Google Tag Manager are two tools that are available to you for free if you use G Suite, meaning sort of Google suite of tools. And essentially what they are well, starting with Google Analytics, and I do just want to mention that those two fields that we see at the bottom, that is the very bottom of the edit section of your donation form that we looked at previously. And if you are going to be using Google Analytics or Google Tag Manager, just remember that it is either or. You cannot use them in combination on the same donation form. So just something to keep in mind when you're filling out one of these fields. But why would you use either or? So Google Analytics is going to help you track. It essentially provides you with dashboards and different reports of how sort of very close look at the demographics and the sort of traffic that's either your website or in this case your donation form is receiving. So you might ask yourself, how are people getting to my website? Are they looking me up in Google? And if they're looking me up in Google, what keywords are they using when they're looking up my organization? If you're sharing, on social media, what network are they using to get to my website or to get to my donation form? If you're using email, how are they coming through email? Did they click through a specific call to action in the email? You can also get a better breakdown of who the people are that visit your website. So break it down by demographic, you can break it down by age group, etc. And you can also break it down by device. So are people reaching my website on a desktop? Are they looking me up on their mobile phones, or are they using a tablet, etc.? And in terms of your specific donation form, so if you were to pop in your Google account number here, you can, your Google Analytics account number, you can track how many visits this donation form gets, what's the actual conversion rate, so how many people that visited the donation form ended up actually making that donation, and who's converting the highest of those people. So lot of great insights that you can get from taking advantage of this tool. A tool that's super powerful, actually very easy to use, and I think heavily underutilized by our sector. So when you get these slides tomorrow, you will be able to click that download button, and it will have a white paper that's going to tell you more about analytics and Tag Manager. Highly encourage you, if the new year is a little bit slower, to take some time to read this awesome resource. And CanadaHelps also provides you with a dashboard that we provide, that we create for you, so it's going to sort of lay out all your specific CanadaHelps data about that donation form within your Google Analytics account. Moving on, the Google Tag Manager is essentially what you would be using if you were, Tamara, just before, thank you. Google Tag Manager is a tool that you could use to track the sort of the data behind your ads. So if you are using Google Ads, or if you're using Facebook Pixel, Google Tag Manager is going to allow you to glean some pretty important insights about the return of those ads, click rates, and such. So sort of moving on, we've talked about sort of how to create those different campaigns. So how to get our website ready, how to get our specific appeals ready for year end, as well as how we can then use those for in different channels when we're tracking our different campaigns. But now we want to talk about thanking your donors, because definitely this is something that you should be doing. So please don't just leave the last sort of contact with your donors at just that donation. You do want to make sure you're going back and sort of further stewarding your donors, so making sure that you're thanking them, form, there's a lot of potential there then to encourage, a donor, a one-time donor to be a repeat donor, or potentially a monthly or a maybe a major gift prospect down the line. So something you definitely want to make sure you are doing. With your donation forms, as we've mentioned, you do have this very important custom email messages field. Please take the time to, if you are using a donation form, to write a message in there for your one-time and your monthly donors. Make it as specific as you can to the sort of function of that donation form. So if it's your general donation form, your monthly, your securities campaign, make sure that that message refers to that. And again, that's going to be automatic. So that's going to be the first thing that a donor reads in the thank you email that they get with their tax receipt. So it kind of does the job for you as soon as that donation is completed. That said, for any other donations, so for those that are not through a donation form, so should you get something maybe from your profile page on CanadaHelps.org or another one of the fundraising tools, you can use the thank you button. So it looks like a little envelope icon, a little blue envelope icon. I might have a little red one if someone has left your charity a message. It's going to allow you to click on that and send a customized thank you email to that specific donor. So it's very individual. So it's entirely up to you if you want to write something sort of specific to donors or have kind of a previously crafted message that you pop in here. But it's going to allow you to send that thank you for those donors that didn't receive an automatic thank you if they didn't give through a donation form. So a great tool as well. So you might want to keep that in mind. Perhaps donors of a certain amount, you'd like to send a specific thank you, or your monthly donors or anything like that. So this thank you tool is going to allow you to do that. And since we're sort of on this tab already, the donation reports tab is going to come very, very much in handy. Sort of once the craziness of the New Year's the end of year, I should say, dies down, and in the new year when you're sort of going back into your notes and seeing how well your different campaigns performed. Please don't overlook your donation reports tab in CanadaHelps. 3 very important sections there that you can look at. So your donation section is going to be sort of a basic overview of the donations that you've received. So you can look those up by disbursement dates, and you can download a report in PDF. So you can always share that, with accounting or perhaps with your board, and it's great for sort of reconciliation purposes. So that first tab there, that donations tab, is going to be super important for that quick glance. But then sort of diving a little bit deeper, you have your data download section where you can download a very comprehensive report containing all of the potential CanadaHelps fields of donor information. Now, it is a lot of data. There's something like, I think something like 40 plus columns. So keep that in mind. It's a great report. It's going to have a ton of information. It's also where you can go to see, if anybody responded to your custom question, if anybody requested that physical card by mail, grab the details of the recipient that they want that postal card to be sent to. So all of that is going to be available in your data download. But that said, if you're finding that data download is almost too much data, take advantage of the custom data download feature. It's going to allow you to pick and choose the columns that are most important to you and save a report with those columns that you can then just keep going back to for any time periods that you need. So you choose the fields, you can relabel them, add, remove, and then just keep them saved there for any time you need to pop in and pull that report. So definitely take some time to navigate this section after your campaign has come to an end.
Lovely. All right. So as we're on the topic of harnessing your data, we have to mention our newly released CanadaHelps donor management system that came out earlier this year. We're very excited about it. There isn't really a more effective way to harness your data and to make the most out of your donors. So the system has all your constituents in one place, whether they're online or offline. Your CanadaHelps donor data is integrated here automatically, so we're very excited. It does a phenomenal job to steward donors, retain donors, and allow you to plan for the future. Might be a little too late for your year-end planning and stewarding for 2020, but something to definitely keep in mind for 2021. It's really an essential system for any nonprofit. So I'll send it back to Pilar.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Tamara. So as we sort of wrap up and just before we head into our Q&A period, we just wanted to leave you with some quick tips about communicating with your donors in 2020 because like many of us are aware, nothing is quite the same ever since the COVID pandemic started, and it really has kind of turned the world upside down, and it's no different for the charitable sector. It's really caused organizations to have to be agile and sort of change the way that they are communicating with their donors. Not to mention it's seen a significant shift in the way donors are able to give. Social distancing has caused a lot of the traditional methods of giving to be no longer possible or no longer recommendable. So we definitely want to note a couple of key things that you might be able to use at the time of speaking to your donors who are perhaps a little bit more traditional and have yet to really engage with that online giving. So the first is really communicate with your donors just how easy online giving can be. And quite honestly, with your donation forms, it could not be easier. As Tamara showed us, they're completely mobile optimized. They are very easy, kind of scroll through. You can pick and choose the amount of fields that you want your donors to have to answer. And it really is just a plugging in of a bit of information, and then your donor will automatically receive that tax receipt and be able to sort of keep track of their donation that way. They can set up monthly gifts. So there really is, it's very easy for them, and you communicating how easy that is going to be a huge encouragement for them. There will also be donors who perhaps have security concerns when it comes to moving things online. So when it comes to CanadaHelps, we operate at the highest level of PCI or credit card processing standards. So we are constantly sort of updating and taking a look at the way that we do things in terms of security for processing those credit card donations. So definitely with our donation forms, there really shouldn't be any concerns of security. Even if your website is not secure, so if your URL doesn't start with HTTPS, that's all right because our donation forms do, so that's just another plus there. So definitely let your donors know that there is nothing to be concerned about when it comes to giving online. And you'd want to also communicate how useful and how important online gifts are because they allow your charity to sort of it kind of removes some of the burden off your organization. So, letting them know that by giving a gift online, it means you don't have to go to the office to pick up a check, or it means you don't have to then go to the bank to deposit that check or that cash. Definitely sort of reducing the amount of time that we're sort of out and about, and sort of physical contact is huge for a lot of organizations. And also the fact that with these donation forms, you have that automatic tax receipting, so it takes away some of that admin work for you, which is going to allow you to be able to focus on more important things like furthering your cause or your mission. And lastly, as a charity, don't be afraid to ask this of your donors. Don't be afraid to make this switch to virtual. If you haven't already done so, you need to have this option on your website. Chances are there are donors out there who are looking to give virtually, and unless you let them know that that's an option, they just might not know how. Not to mention that with 2020, so many things have moved online, so it's almost, we're sort of collectively aware that this is something that we have to do and that we're prepared to do. So don't underestimate your donors because they'll likely understand that they have to now make that switch.
Wonderful. And just before we head into questions, just to go over, summarize what we went through this afternoon or this morning, depending on where you are. Remember, have a clear and obvious donate button that is on your website. make sure to utilize your donor data. It is it has so much information and very accessible, as Pilar showed you in your donation reports tab, and it's really easy to steward your giving, you steward your donors, and find some key patterns, and then of course, don't wait to make sure your donors can give online. Pilar just mentioned the importance of that, especially this year. So everyone has it in front of mind. Someone who can't give to you in person will still look to give to you regardless of, and so provide that option online if you already haven't. Wonderful. And so now we'll go into the question and answer period. I'll also leave our information here too while we go through question and answer, just if anyone wants to contact Pilar or myself. We will also be sending these slides, as Jen mentioned at the start, so you rest assured that you'll be receiving that. So we have some questions here already. I'll go through one here. So we have one from Mary Jane, and she asks, how long do you leave the CH form up on a donation campaign material, example, social media, when there is a finite deadline? So how long to leave your CanadaHelps form up for a campaign? So really that depends on your goals. If you're talking about year end, people are really giving right now with a portion of it is to make the deadline for 2020 tax receipt. So, maybe end that campaign December 31st, they're able to get a timely tax receipt. But of course, it depends on your goal. If it's a Giving Tuesday campaign, those generally are for, of course, December 1st. If it's, a year-end campaign, it's usually till the end of December. Yeah. And then next.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, sorry. Thank you so much, Tamara. I can actually take the next question here that Judy submitted. And Judy asks, would a donation form work without a website, in an online resource, or a paper bulletin? And yes, the answer to that is definitely. As Tamara mentioned, you can use donation forms for, sort of physical, so direct mailers. So it doesn't necessarily need to live on your website. We highly encourage it because you do want to keep donors on your site as much as possible. But like we saw before, your donation form has its unique URL, so you can pop that into sort of a paper mail out. And what we actually see a lot of charities do as well is you can also buy a domain. So you can buy a URL. It's not expensive at all. It's something like $15 for a whole year, and you could call it, if your holiday appeal was, birds or something, you would say, holidaybirds.ca. If that's available, you can buy that URL and, just tell your donors, visit, send out a direct mail piece and say, visit holidaybirds.ca. And it's nice and easy for them there to, you can then link that URL to the donation form so that anybody typing in, holidaybirds.ca goes to your donation form. So tons of different ways you can use your donation form, even if you don't have a website. So using that form-specific URL.
Yeah, that's a great point, Pilar. Terrific. And as well as the CanadaHelps donation forms have their own URL, so they could act as your own temporary, maybe website if you don't have one. But of course, you could buy a domain. That's a great point. So another question here from Lynn. So Lynn is asking, are we able to obtain emails of all donors who have donated through CanadaHelps, except those, of course, who have marked themselves anonymous? So yes, of course, emails are automatically a requirement that when someone fills out their donation form, that's how we send our thank you emails and tax receipts automatically. So you don't need to have this toggled on or off. It's an automatic opt-in, and you'll have all that the donor email information on your donation reports tab, and you can collect that by downloading your data, and you'll see a email field where you can use that for your communications. So very easy to do.
Awesome. There's another question that just came in here. I'm just gonna answer. It's from Anne Marie. She's asked, how do I tie it? And I'm assuming she's referring to a campaign to Giving Tuesday. And sort of how Tamara mentioned with the first question here is you really just want to make sure that you are communicating with your donors. Now, the cadence with which you communicate is sort of best, but definitely make sure you announce your fundraising campaign and take advantage of different channels. So if you have social, if you have an email list on your website, let them know that Giving Tuesday is a thing. It doesn't have to be super detailed. Just let them know it's a day to give back, and let them know that there is a campaign, a specific campaign that they can donate to on that day. And it's entirely up to you. We saw with the Bird Observatory example, they've already got their campaign up sort of just before Giving Tuesday, so you can start to put that up now, or you can encourage donors just on the day of. But either way, you do want to make sure that whatever campaign you are sharing and sort of relating to Giving Tuesday, build momentum throughout the day. So if you can, communicate with your donors, let them know of maybe certain milestones or the progress. That's where the progress bar comes in handy, and really just encourage them to participate that way. Sort of just saying, we're almost there, or just today your donation can make more of a difference, or it's almost the end of the day, or there's still time. So all different ways that you could really encourage donors by sort of reminding them of that tie to Giving Tuesday, because it is that one day. It does help create a sense of urgency, and then of course using the sort of tailored thank you to remind them again, thank you for participating in this specific Giving Tuesday campaign.
Wonderful, great question. So we have a couple more minutes. I see one from Wendy Park. She's asking, can the donor management system manage other contacts who are not donors as a system for communication management? Yes. Great question, Wendy. So the donor management system might be called a donor management system, but you can manage individuals, organizations, and they don't have to be donors specifically. They'll have their full contact records, so you're able to exactly send emails to them, maybe through the donor management system built-in emailing tool, or through MailChimp, which is an integration. So yeah, you can have just constituents or community members who are not just purely donors.
Awesome. I see another question. That's a great question from Stephen, and he's wondering, can a donation form that is embedded, so pasted directly into the website, be edited without any issues? And the answer there is yes. The great thing is that once you've embedded your donation form into your website, you don't have to take it down every time you want to edit the donation form. You can just pop into your CanadaHelps account, visit the edit section of that donation form, make any changes to it, and hit save. The moment you hit save, if you refresh your website, your donation form will reflect the changes that you've made. So it's definitely makes it easier to edit that donation form, and the embedding is really just that one time that you have to do that.
Great question. I see a question from Charlene. She's asking, how do you add cash or check amounts to the fundraising bar? So good question. I'll briefly show that if you all don't mind. So I'll switch my screen here. So I'm going to go back here. So again, when you create that donation form, in the edit section there, and just the general settings tab, there's the fundraising progress. You can enable that, and then there's an offline amount. So you're able to specify, let's say like a check comes in, as Charlene mentioned, or cash. You can just keep tallying that up, and it will reflect on the thermometer. So it'll just take you to, or reflect on the total of the donation in the front end.
Awesome. I think that's just about all the time we have for today, if you agree, Tamara.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, thank you for your questions. We'll do our best to answer them through email after the webinar today. Yeah.
Yes, and thank you so much for everybody who took the time to be here. Please, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. We're happy to schedule some one-on-one time if any of what we said today, you just need a little bit of a follow-up. And best of luck to everyone in this year end.
Yeah. All the best and stay safe. Thank you so much.